Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It is my weekly Ask Me Anything session here. We're going to spend anywhere from 15 to probably 30 minutes here live with you answering your questions. I encourage you, if you're paying attention and you are on the live stream, feel free to go ahead and put your questions in the chat. I'll be able to see those and answer those. If you're joining us on the replay, feel free to just send me any questions you may have, and I'll make sure that we address them in one of our upcoming Ask Me Anything. So really excited to be with you today. Tons of things on my mind about AI prompting this weekend specifically. Had just a ton of questions about those, and I want to address some of those today with everybody while we're waiting for everybody to kind of log in and join us. So just as a reminder, if you're new to this process, we every Wednesday or almost every Wednesday, I go live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, now X, on LinkedIn, and make sure that we're available to answer questions you have. So if you're out there and you have questions about things like AI and how do you use AI prompts in your business, or if you're interested in Topical Authority, that's the other line of work that I'm in with BusinessWise, and we leverage AI to help clients create that. This is a great time for you to just join in. You don't have to make any reservations, but you can ask me any questions you've got, and we'll be happy to get those answered. But like I said, today I want to really start by focusing on AI prompting. There's been a lot of discussion lately. Many of you know I run a large AI group called AI Prompts for Entrepreneurs on Facebook. If you're interested, you can definitely join that as well. In fact, I'll look here for a link that I can put up while we're chatting so that you can go ahead and do that. Got a couple of them here. Let me find it. There we go. You guys can go ahead and follow that and get that and join that group if you'd like. We, as of right now, are 34,800 plus members in that group, all talking about AI prompting and things related to that. And one of the most common questions we're getting is, how, as business entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as owners, how do we use AI prompts in order to help our business, to save time, to increase profit margins, to provide more value to your clients? And I want to chat about that today because one of the most common questions I'm getting related to that is, what courses should I buy, or what lists should I buy? If you're in business, you've probably seen plenty of examples of people that are out there selling you their list of prompts, for $9.99. And I've seen them all the way up into the hundreds of dollars. Buy my list of prompts. I actually got one the other day for 3,487 ChatGPT prompts. Let me cut it simple. Don't buy those lists, guys. They're not likely to help you at all. I've bought a lot of them and testing out for the group and sharing the results. And the vast majority, if not all, in fact, I can only think of one that was any good, didn't really help me anything. It's a list of almost useless prompts that you can put in. If you are new to AI, or if you've been using it for a while and you're trying to figure out how do you leverage this in order to grow your business, I really want to encourage you, instead of buying lists of prompts, to just learn the basics about prompting. If you've learned the basics about prompting, you don't need to have a list. You'll be able to write the prompts whenever they come up. And I'm going to share some of those with you today. And then I also want to let you know that if you're interested, because of popular demand, I am going to release a course on this. I'll be launching on February 9th. I'm actually going to announce it this weekend at an event I'm speaking at. If you're interested, just make a comment. I'll get you a link, and would love to provide that as a resource for you as well. But the focus of that is about learning how to prompt. And I think part of the confusion comes in that people hear prompting and they're like, Jonathan, what in the world is that? And how do I deal with it? Well, prompting isn't anything difficult. It's simply a matter of talking to the custom GPT or to the GPT. So we've got three main text-based AI platforms out there. As just a quick bit of review. We've got ChatGPT, we've got Google Bard, and we've got Claude by Anthropic. Those are all large language models, they're called, that are all AI tools where you type in a question and it gives you a response. Is this Terminator style AI? Is this sentient? No, it's not. Think of it as the world's largest encyclopedia with almost immediate recall to whatever you want. So it has great and vast information, and it can recall it super fast. And the neat thing is, instead of just giving us a list of results like Google's used to doing, it actually answers our questions for us. And that's super, super helpful. But prompting is just talking. It's communicating with the AI tool. It's communicating with ChatGPT. And so don't be turned off by phrases like prompting and prompt engineering, because those really just mean talking. And if you take nothing else away from this live stream or this replay, please hear the next sentence. It's really important, and maybe the next paragraph. Prompting ChatGPT and AI tools is the same as having a conversation with a coworker. Let's say, for example, that I want to create a standard operating procedure and I want to collaborate with you who's working with me on that. I'm not simply going to send you a message and say, hey, I need you to create a standard operating procedure, because you're not going to know what it's about. I'm going to need to give you some context. I'm going to need to tell you some background. So let's say we're going to create a standard operating procedure on how to post a blog to your website. Well, we're going to start by saying, hey, we want to create an SOP. That SOP is going to tell people how to post a blog on their website. And the audience for this SOP, or who's going to read it, is as follows. That's at a minimum. So you need to define what it is you want and who's going to be reading it in this case, in the case of an SOP. But then it really helps if we give it some background, because there's a lot of things that could go into a standard operating procedure about how to post a blog to your website. For example, what type of website platform are you using? Do you even have the ability to post it? Is it on WordPress, which is most common? Is it on Weebly? Is it on Wix? Is it on Duda? Is it on Square? There's tons and tons that I'm missing. There's so many different platforms. So we need to define that up front and define where do we want to focus, because that process is going to be different. We may then also want to say, do we want to talk about additional aspects of posting a blog to a website? In other words, do we want to talk about how should that blog do internal linking? Should it link to other blog posts that are similar, other articles? What about external linking? Should we be adding external links in? What about images? How should we handle that? We could go on and on. There's lots of variables that we could talk about. But if I don't give you any of that information, if we're collaborating to write this SOP, you're not going to know what to do. So the same with ChatGPT. And by the way, when I say ChatGPT, you can infer that could mean Google Bard, it could mean Claude. When we're using these AI tools like ChatGPT, we need to give it context and we need to let it know what things we're looking for. So in the case of writing an SOP about posting a blog post, I'm going to want to probably start off, since WordPress is the most popular platform, say, let's begin by creating a standard operating procedure of how one would post a new blog to their website in WordPress. And then I would want to add, let's make sure we talk about featured images or an image in the blog and when that should be used and how that image should be uploaded, how it should be formatted, what types of things need to be done in order to help it rank for SEO. We also want to talk about internal and external linking. So internal linking to other articles and pages on our website, and external linking, linking off to external sites that can add credibility and improve the reader's experience. And then lastly, I want to talk about how it's so important when we're putting out blogs that we focus on the reader's experience, because it's only when we're adding value to the reader, providing helpful content, if you're familiar with any of Google's terms, that Google's going to recognize that and amplify what we're doing. So there's a lot of things that need to be discussed. Now, you may be saying, Jonathan, this is great, but what happens if I don't know what to share? Well, that's one of the tips I want to share with you today. So if you're prompting ChatGPT to do anything, craft a new email for you, review a memo you've written, create an SOP like we're talking about. When you're done giving it the information for the first prompt, by the way, a lot of times we're going to do multiple prompts. So for the first prompt, end that question, that message you're typing, think of it like you're texting ChatGPT, end it with this phrase. Ask me any questions that you need answered prior to giving me your best response. So how do we prompt ChatGPT? Think of it like we're texting. You're going to text them ChatGPT, but you're going to type it right in. It's the same type of methodology. But unlike texting, short isn't always better. More information and context is important. Just as if you're going to text a coworker or you're text a friend about maybe where you're going to meet for lunch, it would probably be a good idea to text them the location and the time and other relevant information, not just let's meet for lunch at noon. So keep that in mind. The other thing is end those questions, those prompts, with that simple phrase. Ask me any questions that you need answered and allow me to respond before giving me your best response. Super simple. That will then basically give permission to ChatGPT to ask clarifying questions of you. And it's important to understand that all of the AI models are taught to assume things that are not given to them. And so if you don't add that question, ask me anything that you need answered prior to giving me your best response, its model says, well, make assumptions and do the best you can on the information you've provided. So let's again say I'm texting a friend about meeting for lunch. I'll say, I'll see you at noon for lunch. Your friend is going to write back and go, where? And make sure that's clarified. By default, ChatGPT is not likely to do that. It may on occasion, but for the most part, it's going to assume it knows. And a lot of times it's going to guess. Kind of like your best friend's going to go, well, we always go to this taco joint, so I'll plan on meeting you there, and I'll text you back if you're not there. So just give it that context and give it that information. That's what's so important. The other thing I want to encourage you today is don't get stressed about the term prompting. Think of prompting like you're texting a friend, except in this case, we're texting ChatGPT by typing into it what we're looking for. The other part that is super important, in addition to asking that question about ask me anything you need before giving me your best response, is that it's a conversation. In other words, we don't issue one prompt and ask ChatGPT to write a novel for us because it won't have the ability to do that. We have a conversation. We call those follow-up prompts, or in this case, follow-up text messages. So you're going to text your best friend about lunch. They're going to text back where? You're going to text them back, hey, I was thinking tacos. They're going to go, no, I want sushi today instead. And you're going to have a conversation. Do that same thing as you're prompting ChatGPT. Have a conversation. So you're going to ask, it's going to respond. Ask a follow-up question, especially if that information you got isn't what you wanted. Ask additional follow-up questions. Carry on a conversation to get to the point that you want. A great example of this would be if you're going to have it help you draft an email or a memo, you're going to need to tell it, again, the audience you're trying to reach. You're going to need to tell it the subject, the tone you want it to have, and lots of information. Again, if you're not sure what that is, remember, just say, ask me for any information you need before responding. And it'll ask you those questions that it needs in order to do that. It's then going to create the first version of that email or that memo, and you're going to take a look at it, and it may be really good, or it may be off in some areas. Probably going to be off in some areas based on what information and how much information you gave it. So now you can ask it to clarify. So for example, if it got the audience wrong because you forgot to mention that, you can say, oops, I forgot to tell you this memo is supposed to go out to this group of people. Please rewrite for me. And it will do that. Or maybe in your email, you forgot to put in the fact that you wanted to say, have a great day, and you wanted to be more conversational. Maybe it wrote it too formally. Then you can follow up and say, hey, that's great, but I really want a more conversational tone, a friendly tone, while still maintaining business professionalism. Please rewrite. And ChatGPT will do exactly that. It'll rewrite that content based on your new instructions. So keep that in mind. There's so much we could talk about, but for today, let's keep it simple. Remember, prompting is very similar to texting a friend, and you're going to send messages to ChatGPT much like you would. Remember to give context. You're not going to tell your friend to meet you at noon for lunch without telling them where. So make sure you're giving context when you're asking for feedback. Third point, remember when you're prompting, if you're not sure of what context to give it, ask. Say, please ask me any questions that you need answered before giving me your best response. That is an amazing tip that'll help you probably more than anything else. And then fourth, ask follow-up questions. In other words, when you get a response, if it's perfect, great. But if it's not, and it likely won't be perfect, then ask a follow-up questions. Just like you're having a conversation with a friend and they don't understand what you're saying, or maybe they made an assumption and they went off in a direction you weren't anticipating. You then bring it back by continuing that conversation, and you're going to do the same thing with ChatGPT to make that work for you. So hopefully that's value. There's 4 simple steps that you can take to make sure that you're communicating with AI more effectively. I'd love to talk about other issues. Let me take a look in the chat, see if we've got any new questions that have come in. Nothing at the moment, so we're good there. But keep in mind that you can utilize AI within your business to do so many things and to save you time. Saving time means saving you money. Saving you money means improving your margins, and that's always good. And with AI, you can also deliver more value to your clients by being able to provide better communication, maybe provide more value in what you're doing. So always keep that in mind as you're working through. With that, everybody, if you've got questions for next week's AMA, please go ahead and drop them down here in the list. I'll be happy to be doing that. Next week's will be from the road, as I'm going to be speaking in Dallas and then up in Branson talking about AI to people that really want to know about it. So I'll be on my way up to Branson. And if you've got questions, I'll be joining you from the road to answer those questions next week, Wednesday at 12 Eastern. Thanks. Make it a great day, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye.